So there.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
Why do you keep saying let us know your thoughts?
Let me know your thoughts to me is a nice lead-in for So There. So There.
Welcome to episode 65 of So There. I'm Gary Doyle.
And I'm Tom Karamitis.
How are you, Tom?
I'm good. I feel like the weather's turned, and now I have a whole mountain of outdoor chores as well as indoor chores. But that's kind of that's the burden of the suburban man.
Tom and I may have only slightly more to talk about than our previous episode, the infamous Yeah episode. We may not have much more to talk about than that because we actually met in person this week, which is something we only do every year or two, at Panda Express in the Loop, the finest Chinese food in all the world. Just like So There at yahoo.com is the finest email platform.
And it was all the things you would expect from an inner city fast food experience.
If there's noises in the background, listeners, this is my bride having breakfast at Cinema Verite. You know, it's like you're actually hearing real life as we record the pod. It's really probably quite exciting. It's like when they recorded Abbey Road, you probably, you could hear the landscapers in the courtyard doing the yard work and the cooks making lunch. That's kind of like that with this. But anyway, yes, Tom, talk about our Panda Express experience.
Well, it was as typical of inner city fast food places, very crowded, lots of people, not enough seating. And there was a woman who was Gary and I were a little table for two, and there was a woman who came up and was standing behind Gary, just kind of watching us eat. And she looked, dressed normally and stuff. And what did she ask?
I think she asked, how is your food? Just like that. I go, it's pretty good, thanks. I really hope you're enjoying your food. And then she just kind of stood there and looked at us.
Yeah. I don't know about you. When things like that happen, I tend to lose my appetite a little bit. I feel kind of guilty for eating. But she went around and basically seemed to ask that question to other patrons. So my sense was she was a well-dressed person who did not have, lunch money. And I felt, you feel bad. You feel a little bit awkward and embarrassed. And
yeah, it was vaguely unnerving. She went around chatting up all the customers in the restaurant who were trying to eat and asked them how their food was. In a friendly yet vaguely threatening way.
Yeah. Yeah, because
there
was no follow-up question to her initial inquiry.
No. She just stood there and stared at us. And then there were the food breathers, Tom, right?
Yeah, our table was pressed right up against the line that went from the counter all the way out to the door. And there were people who were kind of looking down at what we were eating because we were sitting there and they're standing right beside us in their line. And, it was just not, it was just a really kind of distracting, odd experience.
Yeah, they breathed on us. I remember what the other thing she said was she gave me the impression I was talking loudly because she goes something like, "You seem to be having a good time," or something like that, right? And then she stood and stared at us, and she said again, "You seem to be enjoying yourself." And then she goes, "How's your food?"
Yeah, it was unnerving. It really was. There was no follow-up question. There was nothing like, interesting, you chose the fried rice instead of the chow mein. Now that's interesting because when I do orange chicken, I always opt for the chow mein. I mean, there was. Then I might have been, engaged a little bit.
It's
I
like
feel a little bit Larry David-ish right now, like I'm a total entitled ass. But it's, you like to think how you'd behave in these situations, and then they happen for real, and you don't quite measure up to your own hopes and dreams.
It's like the person in the elevator we've all encountered and talked about, who you walk on the elevator and you get the sense they want to talk to you. They just kind of stare at you, and you get the sense they would like to engage. And you're busy looking up at the floors or the buttons or whatever, and they want to talk, and then they finally go, "It's nice weather, isn't it?"
Well, I walked into the restaurant for lunch with you thinking I'm a pretty good person, and I walked out when we were done thinking maybe I'm not as good a person as I thought I was. So there.
What's on your mind, Tom?
Well, Gary, I want to use. I don't do this very often, but I'm going to make an I decree.
I decree.
I decree that people stop using the phrase "give back" for two reasons. First, when you say you're giving back, it means you're telling the world you're doing quite well, right? It is very much a humble brag. And the other thing is, it seems to me even more irritating.
How is that a humble brag?
Well, because I have much more than I need.
I do well.
So I'm going to give some back. The other thing is, it also means you need to remind the world what a great person you are because you're choosing to give back. I still think the best form of giving back is to do so quietly and anonymously, and not broadcast to the world that I want to give back.
You mean don't put it on the Facebook that you're
Exactly.
You're working at the soup kitchen this morning.
Yes, I drove my Range Rover to the soup kitchen this morning to give back some of my valuable time.
If you're giving back at the soup kitchen, what have you been given?
Well, you're giving back the gift of time.
No, but what have you been given? If you give back, you're returning something. What have you been given?
Well, free labor. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
It's a conundrum.
Yeah. But it bugs me. I tend to have just issues with kind of over the top expressions of ego, and to me, that's one of them.
But you don't actually mind giving back. You do give back. Or do you not?
Well, I guess it depends. I mean, how do you define giving back? Is giving? I think when people say online, I decided to give back, they're doing a very high profile sacrifice of their time or wealth, right? Right. I just don't see the need to tell people that you're doing it. That's all. There's very little true altruism in the world. I think there needs to be more. So that's my soapbox for today. So there.
Tom, you brought up Larry David a few minutes ago. As you probably know, as most of our listeners know, Curb Your Enthusiasm ended its run. We're recording this about a week ago. It had its final episode, and I finally watched it last night. Very, very good. Very, very good. What I've always loved about Larry David is he says what's on everybody's minds, but nobody actually says it, and Larry does. I think that's the charm of the show. Did you watch Larry David, Tom? Did you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah, I did for a number of years. Then I kind of stopped for a bunch of years, and then I saw the Bruce Springsteen episode this year.
Oh, I don't know if you've seen the Bruce Springsteen episode. I think he was on earlier in the season, but he was on. Did you see the one with the extended table? He was at the kitchen table with Larry and his manager.
Yeah.
Oh, shocked at what a good actor he was. Unbelievably funny. Anyway, not here to talk about Bruce Springsteen, but
very good deadpan. Very good deadpan he does.
Outstanding. He fit right into the show. I was shocked because I'm as you know, a big Bruce Springsteen fan, but I never would think of him as being a good actor or being able to act, but he was subtle. He was, he got the show, but he played it small. It was just very impressive. Another reason for Tom Karamitis to be enraged at Bruce Springsteen, because Tom Karamitis grew up in New Jersey and grew up hating Bruce Springsteen because everybody loved Bruce Springsteen.
All right. We'll take a quick detour here on your Larry David thing. I've never hated Bruce Springsteen, but his music has never spoken to me. And whether he was from New Jersey like me or from Tulsa, it wouldn't have mattered to me. I respect him as an artist. I respect his longevity. I respect his energy. I respect his performing prowess. But I just, with relatively few exceptions, I have not really found very many of his songs that really speak to me.
Really sorry that Bruce didn't write "I Believe in Father Christmas." Really, really sorry Bruce didn't write "Tarkus." Really sorry he didn't write "Hoedown." Really sorry.
All right. Comparing Bruce Springsteen and Emerson, Lake and Palmer is kind of like comparing Goodfellas to Blue's Clues. They're just kind of completely different areas of music. All right. Hey.
Okay.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer sold out Soldier Field in 1977, okay? They played in front of 400,000 people as the headlining act at California Jam in 1974. So I'm not the only one that liked that band. I'm just saying. Their music never spoke to Gary Doyle. In fact, Gary Doyle, who met Keith Emerson, kind of inadvertently mocked him to his face, if I recall.
I did.
Yeah. Remember, we wanted him to do some music for... What was it?
I remember that.
It was Fruitopia. But you said something like, we're looking for something that feels kind of schlocky and 60s. That's why we went to you. In fact, Gary Doyle later mentioned to a friend of his that he went to the House of Blues in L.A. and met Keith Emerson. And your friend said, holy cow, you met Keith Emerson? He's like the best keyboardist in rock history. And Gary Doyle kind of thought he was just kind of some kind of schlub, did not realize his reputation. But
I was just in a panic he'd make me do drugs.
Eddie Money, who we met that night, didn't make you do drugs?
We didn't meet Eddie Money.
Who sat at the table with us? There was another.
I don't think it was Eddie Money.
But Eddie Money, maybe he performed that night.
He did perform.
Okay. We met somebody else who was at our table. I just don't remember who it was.
But anyway.
All right.
So there. Anyway, Larry David. The only reason I bring up Larry David is because one of Larry David's bits was about reclining your seat back on a plane. Okay. And my kids actually sent me this clip, and it became a long debate about whether it's okay. And maybe we've talked about this on the pod. It doesn't matter if we have, because nobody listens to our pod or remembers it. So it doesn't matter. But Gary Doyle, speaking of I decree.
I decree.
I decree that no one shall ever recline their seat back. I would like to issue a Tom Karamitis style fatwa against reclining your seat back. There is never an excuse to do that. I don't care if they do recline. I am against it. I'm against it. And I think for anybody to do it is rude. So there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whoa, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised you agree with this. I was fully expecting you to go, well, you're allowed to, and you pay for the seat, you should be able to do it.
No, I would say back in the old days, the way back old days when you and I used to fly first class because we worked at Leo Burnett and they tend to fly everybody first class, then it's okay to recline because it's not going to impact the person behind you. But I just know, you instantly inconvenience the person behind you. It's awful, and it doesn't make enough of a difference. I never recline my seat in coach ever.
Good for you. Do you ever notice you can kind of tell who's going to recline their seat? I can. Like I think men are more likely to recline than women because they're generally more inconsiderate and they do things like manspreading, right? So they just kind of take up space. So a man is more likely to do it than a woman, and a white man is more likely to do it because white men are more entitled, just in general. So I think if they're large, that means they're likely to do it too. So if, let's say, a large white male sits in that seat ahead of me, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get his skull right under my chin.
Well, okay, so let's take
this. It's profiling, I know.
No, but to that point, you're sitting in your coach seat. By demographic, who would you like the most to sit next to you as the people kind of file onto the plane? And who would you like to be least seated next to?
Next to?
Yeah. Let's say you're in the window seat and the plane is completely full. So those two seats are going to be taken.
Ah.
I mean, to me, the worst is a child, right? Who's going to be kicking and fussing and stuff.
I'd rather have a child than a large person.
Interesting. I'd rather have a large woman than a large man. I find women are better seatmates than men in general for the reasons you just mentioned.
They're more likely to smell better, too.
And I also think that women generally do not want to engage in conversation with a strange man next to them as a man would. And I'm not really interested in talking to the stranger on the plane. So I find women tend to keep to themselves. They're reading their book or whatever. Men will at some point, so what business are you in?
Hey man, commercials, that sounds pretty interesting. Did you do that one with Schwarzenegger? No. I'll tell you my gambit. Do you want to hear my gambit if a large white male were to sit in front of me?
In front of you or next to you?
In front of me.
In front. Okay.
So they're likely to recline their seat.
Yep.
When the plane takes off, it heads out of the runway and lifts off. That's when the moment when they're likely to move their seat back. It's like, okay, plane's gone off. I can recline my seat back all the way back and totally infringe on the person behind me. Right? They can't wait to do it. So at the moment when the plane takes off, what I do is stick my knees into the back of their seat so they can't recline. Not for the whole flight, because what happens is they will, sure enough, plane takes off and they'll do their little adjustment in the seat recliner and the little seat armrest, and it won't go back. And you get this little puzzled expression on their face. You can tell the body language is like, what? This seat doesn't recline. What? And then my knees are jammed back into the seat, so they can't move back. And they'll kind of get all puzzled and like, what? And then they'll finally give up. And the rest of the flight, no reclining.
You see, that's a gambit that a tall person like you can do. For me to do that, my butt would be so far forward that my head would be like halfway on my seat back because I'd have to move that far forward to get my knees in the right position.
There is some of that. It's awkward, but it's only for like a few minutes, right? The plane takes off. They think that for some reason their seat doesn't recline and they just give up.
Well, you're right, though, that those people are the ones, you're right, as soon as the wheels leave the ground, they go into recline,
They don't waste any time.
I don't know about you. I used to be very obedient about reactivating my cell phone and waited until you're almost at the gate. Now, and then from there, I used to reactivate my phone as soon as the wheels touched down. Now, as we're kind of coming into final approach I'm turning my cell phone on. Is that bad?
No. No, everybody knows the cell phone doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't know why they still insist that it interferes with the avionics. I read that that's not the case. And in some countries, they don't even ask you to turn off your cell phone, apparently, on commercial flights. So it's it's an FAA thing, I guess.
Government overreach, Tom. It's enough to make you become a Republican.
Well, no, not nearly.
Not really. So there.
So, Gary, have you noticed that the one of the latest marketing crazes has become
marketing gambit?
Gambits. More of a craze than a gambit, but I would say, what is with these whole body deodorants now that everyone's advertising? It started out with this woman who got right in your face. She was advertising a product called Lumi, and she would, in very graphic detail, talk about you can put it in your pits, and your underboobs, in your butt crack.
God.
I'm not kidding.
God.
And then now I'm noticing other, like Old Spice and Dove and all of these other kind of more mainstream brands are into this whole body deodorant thing. Like, I didn't realize this was an issue, that people just had real bad odor problems in their nether regions that needed to... I find the commercials just really gross. As the kids might say, TMI. I mean, it's really repulsive. And they're all over the place now.
I haven't seen any of these ads. I didn't know such products existed, and it makes me sad that they do exist, because now people are going to think they need this.
Well, you know what? That hadn't occurred to me, and that's probably exactly why. Oh, we're going to sell 5 times as much deodorant because now people are spraying it on their feet and in their middle sections and under their, whatever. So, anyway.
Yeah. That's kind of gross.
Yeah, it's like, it goes back to the classic thing we were all taught in ad school, right? The most brilliant piece of copywriting ever was lather, rinse, repeat.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, I remember a writer at DDB told me that, and he did the big pause before he said repeat. He said, most people do not need to lather twice, but as soon as you read the instructions on the bottle, you were using twice as much.
Wow. Yeah. I never really thought of it. Didn't Prell invent that? Remember Prell?
Yeah. Huh. I don't know who the first one, that person should be in the Advertising Hall of Fame. That poor guy was relegated to writing instructions on a shampoo bottle.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Are there other products out there we don't need? There must be a lot.
Products that we don't need?
Or that we never knew we needed.
Well,
until they came out.
Well, what about I bet the guy who wrote repeat is the same guy who said, feed your lawn, feed it. I guess I need to use twice as much, Sonny.
That's doubly effective because he not only uses it twice, you use the product twice, but you never knew you had to feed your lawn to begin with. Like, I didn't know my lawn is like a hungry child. Oh. It's like I feed it, like I stuff a pie hole, like I stuff a hot dog in my pie hole. Oh. Then I got to do it. And then I got to do it again.
So there. But wait, you asked me a question. You asked me if there are other products out there that we don't need, right?
Yeah, but I don't know what there are. I don't know.
Maybe we can ask our viewers to write in some suggestions. Products that we just don't need anymore.
Hey, viewers, Tom just had a good idea. If you have any ideas for products that marketers invented that we never knew we needed, let us know it. So there at yahoo.com. We get a lot of emails, Tom.
Easily 2 a year.
But probably like hundreds go into our spam folder. That's what happens. You just never know what's going to go into a spam folder. So that's probably what happened. But anyway, yes, a couple got through. One is about our episode, our previous episode where all we said was yeah. Okay, so a listener said, "Dear Tom and Gary," and by the way, it enrages me that they put your name first. "Dear Tom and Gary, I thought it had an eerily suspenseful quality. It was like listening to rainwater drip into a bucket on the floor. I'm on tenterhooks waiting to find out if the installment ushers in your avant-garde period, like Picasso's first Cubist painting. Devotedly, an anonymous listener."
Wow. That made my day. That's somebody who understands the aura of So There.
Tom, should I read another letter?
Yes, my
a little bit
appetite has been
longer.
whetted.
A little bit longer about a previous episode that, again, nobody remembers, so the context won't be clear to anybody, but it's a good letter. "Dear So There team," thank God they said So There team instead of Tom and Gary.
Tom and Gary sounds better than Gary and Tom. It's like Tom and Jerry, right?
Whoa.
Anyway, go ahead.
Never
Read.
thought of that. No. "Dear So There team, in the style of Gary Doyle's Oscars,
Lightning round.
here are my thoughts on your most recent episode on thinking outside the box. I agree with Tom Karamitis that this tagline cannot be improved upon." So this was for the Cremation Society.
That's right.
"But I did enjoy hearing Gary's riffs on alternatives. A brilliant idea for a new episode. One of you hands the other a surprise hypothetical client, and the other has to come up with taglines on the spot. That sounds like my job." I don't want to do that in the podcast. On Gary's Oscar critiques, "You remember nothing about past lives? Posterity will judge your pod for this. You should issue a retraction to avoid being canceled." On Tom's, "This viewer disagrees that Tom Karamitis is not the target audience of Barbie. Didn't Tom Karamitis watch the trailer? This movie is for everyone." On Cillian Murphy, "A wooden performance as observed by Gary, but a sweet, kind Irishman humbly earning his dues after a long career." That sounds like me. "Therefore, this viewer has no complaints, and you shouldn't either." That's speaking of Oppenheimer's star. On Gary eating humble pie, what ad campaign had you using a noun as a verb? Spill it. I cannot, because likely my clients are listening to this, and I cannot reveal. On Tom Karamitis, boy, she took a lot of notes. On Tom Karamitis' domestic opinions, "Bidets are very European. Taking one's shoes off mindfully at the door is very Asian. Tom Karamitis disapproving of both is very American. That's fine, because at least he doesn't aim to make all guests emotionally or physically uncomfortable like Gary. This viewer has only one question. If Tom Karamitis were asked by a host to take off his shoes and then he heard a tornado siren, would he stay or leave the house?"
This viewer understands my dilemma.
On words smashed together, this feels very Orwellian to this viewer. Thought crime, Xfinity. The future is now. This person may have to join our podcast. On Viking Ocean cruises, viewers will appreciate Tom Karamitis calling out the classism, sorry. Viewers will appreciate Tom Karamitis calling out the classism in this campaign. Also, in this viewer's opinion, there's no such thing as a cruise for the thinking person. On catching up, I appreciated a So There doubleheader today when I also listened to the Super Bowl episode I'd missed. I enjoyed it a lot, which is a major endorsement of Gary and Tom's good order there, of Gary and Tom's entertainment abilities, because I couldn't connect to any of the content not having watched the Super Bowl. The only thing I disagreed with is Gary's favorable opinion of the NFL commercial that featured My Way. I think it is ironic for the NFL to use a song about exceptionalism because being a beefy American football player is about as conventional as it comes. I think My Way should be used in a commercial about So There instead.
Well, and as we discussed, My Way is used in a Cologuard commercial, right? People sending in feces samples to see if they have colorectal cancer. Remember? We discussed Frank Sinatra rolling over in his grave.
Yeah. Your most devoted fan in Anonymous Viewer. Wow.
That was a tour.
That was a tour de force.
That was a tour de force. That was
way better than our actual podcasts, ironically. If we did My Way for the podcast, the lyrics would be, listeners, we've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. That's it.
I was so hoping for another verse.
Excellent letter. Thank you.
Excellent letter. Mystery letter writer, you.
If anyone else, I know you're probably intimidated by that letter, as you should be, but if anybody else wants to write about anything, write at sothere@yahoo.com, and we will read your letter on the air. And remember, it's Gary and Tom.
Perhaps. And as reminded in that letter, and as further evidence that this phenomenon refuses to abate, during the NCAA finals, Geico commercial said, "However you fan, get more with Geico." So noun as verb continues to live.
The all-time king of noun as verb, and we've assessed this on the pod, is. And I mentioned this to you. I was at the Ogilvy train station food court the other day, and they had a giant ad in the food court for Hilton, and it said, "Guessed how you guessed," which not only uses noun as verb twice in the same line, but it makes absolutely no sense.
No sense. It truly is, because it is so lazy.
It's not. It is. I guess it's lazy.
That one's
it's
lazy,
sort of
maybe.
not lazy, and it's sheer. It takes effort to create that kind of gibberish. Do they think there's an imaginary consumer? Like if I said to you, Tom, I'm looking for a hotel. I'd really love to find a hotel where I can guess how I guessed. Are they thinking there's an imaginary consumer saying that? So therefore, Hilton lets you guess how you guessed.
It's you know what? It's like writers using Mad Libs, right? It's just falling into this like a formula. It's lazy to me in that it's nothing's coming from a blank sheet of paper. It's like, okay, there's a format here. I'm just going to plug my product category into this format and come up with something. And the ones you just mentioned, guessed how you guessed, I really don't know what that's supposed to mean. I guess they're saying you can behave as a guest the way you want to be treated. I don't know. I kind of know what they're getting at, but it's just this tired limerick. Not limerick, it's tired Mad Lib to me.
We need to find a way to use "so there" as a verb. We sure so there that topic. Son. So there.
And until next time, for Gary Doyle, this is Tom Karamitis saying, So there.